All you work from home folks, this might be the video that puts you on an entirely different life path. You no longer need to be confined to being a cubicle monkey and have proven your work can be done outside of the classic office setting. COVID has really changed how employers are staffing their organizations. Many are realizing the savings on office space as well as increased productivity on some remote workers. This might mean you could carry your job and salary with you regardless of where you are in the world. I've been talking about it for more than a decade now, and I'm proud to announce that I finally started to live out one of my life's dreams. That dream is living a global lifestyle, one where the world becomes my home, a life where my identity isn't fixed to one location and where my experiences, rather than a biased media system, tells me how the world really is. Starting this October, I'm moving to South America. In today's episode, I'll cover what inspired me to make this move, why I'm starting with Medellin Colombia, how much this is all costing me, and who this is potentially for. On this channel, I cover my business ventures from healthcare to real estate and so much more. This is exactly how I've managed to build the life that I have now. It wasn't easy, but it's certainly doable. So if you're looking for a way to break free from the rat race and live your dreams, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a thing. My name is Carl Pierre, and this is ENTP Life. Did you know that with just $3,500 a month, you could support a family of 4 in the majority of the world's cities? That's a weekly earnings of $875. Granted, that might be more than some of you currently take home, but in the grand scheme of things, that's really not much money. Just wait for when I show you what $1,500 a month affords you in Latin America. Fortunately for me, entrepreneurship and investing has set me up with more than enough passive income to live and do virtually whatever I want. Fortunately for you, I don't keep it a secret and have set up courses that teach you how to build your wealth through investing in real estate and how to build a healthcare staffing firm that spins off cash while you manage the operations from virtually anywhere in the world. I've inserted a link for my courses down below. For as little as $97 a month, you can follow in my footsteps and develop your own global lifestyle plan. If you stick around to the end, I'll give you some more details on that and how you can work directly with me to achieve your financial goals. But before we get into that, let's talk about how the idea of living in other countries outside of the United States was born. About 10 years ago, I traveled to Thailand for the first time. Previously to that, I always would travel down to the Caribbean and to the Mexico region, and I really never saw how far the US dollar really went. In Thailand, I got a chance to see what the benefit is of converting US dollars to local currencies when you're not in the US's backyard. To kind of put this into better perspective, in Thailand, you could get a full meal for about $1.50, whereas in most of the Caribbean and Mexico, that is typically not going to happen. So when I started doing the math as to, well, how much money would it actually take for me to live an equivalent lifestyle, I came up with that for less than $1,500 a month, I could live in Thailand, live in Bangkok, nice apartment, eat out virtually every single meal of the day, and still have some money to go out and entertain myself. And that's where the idea for potentially living globally was born. So from that point forward, anytime I traveled into a new country, I'd look at what is the true cost of living here and what would it cost me if I wanted to make my home this country. So from that point on, my mindset completely changed to how could I earn money in the United States and live somewhere else? Because let's be honest, the United States is fairly comfortable when it comes to your middle-class lifestyle, and you don't want to go into a new country without really knowing how you're going to provide for yourself. How do you earn money as a foreigner? How do you adjust to the local laws? How do you speak this local language, especially when you're thinking about Thai? That's rather difficult. But from that trip, everything changed for me, and I got set on how do I live internationally? How do I live this global lifestyle? When you decide to live globally, you need to be a unique character. You need to be really flexible and adjustable, and you have to have an open mind. You can't expect to go into a new country and expect that new country to be your country. A lot of Americans, especially Americans, will go into new environments and think, hey, why doesn't the banking system work a certain way? Why is service so slow at this restaurant? Why don't they clean up the streets? Why are they, just throwing garbage onto the ground? You have to make these adjustments to a different country because this new country isn't your home per se. So you can't just think, hey, everything outside the United States needs to function like the US. As cool as that might be, that's just not the reality. And if you're not an open-minded person, willing to go with the flow, willing to adjust and adapt to those changes, you might find living globally to be rather difficult. This doesn't mean that by moving internationally, somehow your world gets turned upside down, but there are going to be nuances to every single culture that's going to potentially change your viewpoint or make you more or less uncomfortable if you're not a go with the flow type of person. I could give you one example. Everything that you need to do in Brazil is super slow, from a kind of like working with the national offices or any kind of state agency. There is tons and tons of red tape that just seems unnecessary. And if you think that US government workers are horrible, you haven't seen anything until you've gone into South America and worked with their government officials. Those people are absolutely the worst. They're extremely rigid and seem like they don't want to get anything done, even if you're trying to do things to improve their country, like open a business or invest some sort of capital. They create so many freaking loopholes, not even loopholes, but they create so many like stoppage points that prevents you from making progress, that it's almost like, why would anybody want to kind of build business here? And by comparison, in the United States, if you were to start a business, starting a business is incredibly easy. Even as a foreigner, there's almost no barrier to entry to get the economy moving here in the United States. In South America and many other countries, these processes are just outdated and slow. In order to explain the next part, I think it's important that I take you over to one of my favorite sites to explore cost of living throughout the world. So right here on Nomad List, I'm looking at Medellin, Colombia, which shows what the cost of living is, typical temperature, and that is actually number 2 on the list for Latin America destinations for your nomad. Now, if you look at the rest of these Latin American destinations, Mexico City is ranked number 1, and the cost of living there is just $1,500, actually less than $1,500, just $1,441 per month to live there as an expat nomad. Now, if you look at Medellin, Colombia, it's even less at $1,143 per month. Sao Paulo, Brazil is number 3, in at $1,200 a month. Now, if you look at some of these other cities, you get a really good sense of what cost of living is like, what to expect from these South American countries. And they're all really cool cities, world cities, great transportation, tons of things to do. Lima, Peru, $984 a month. And the food in Lima is amazing. If you were to scroll even further down, you get into Chile, Guatemala, I would never live in Cuba, Argentina, and even Georgetown, Guyana to round it all out. When you're on nomadlist.com, you could click into a city and see what is its overall score, how they came up with the score for this city, and then you could get even more details to provide you with rich information on cost and what you could expect. It gives you overall detail, cost of living. You could go a little further to consider the digital nomad guide, which is going to go into things like internet speed, air quality, the conversion rate, etc., what the people are like, the cost of living, pros and cons of a particular area, reviews if there are people who've said that they've been there, and what it's like. Nomad List is an excellent guide. I love going there. It gives me so much information for me to discover what city I may want to explore. It shows cities that I would never consider, like Georgetown, Guyana, and gives you some insight into what you could expect so that you can plan appropriately. Here's the part that isn't for everyone, because frankly, there are people whose dreams stay dreams while others make their dreams a reality. In my opinion, living globally is for a certain type of person. Let me explain. So if you're really thinking about living a global lifestyle, you need to take account of yourself. Who are you? What can you tolerate? And what can you not tolerate? And before you make that big move, you should probably spend a lot of time in that country to see what those long-term effects are going to be for you and whether or not you could stand it. If you look at other expatting videos where people are relocating to new countries, you'll see that some of them end up leaving this new country, leaving this paradise, leaving this idea because they just couldn't get used to how the system functions. Or they end up moving to another country that feels a little more familiar to them or up to their speed. If you're a rigid, routine, closed-minded person, living internationally, especially in some of the countries that really interest me, may not be for you. Another bit of food for thought is you need to be someone who's dynamic enough to generate money wherever you are. You may be going into a new country that you don't have a work permit in, so you're gonna need to create money somehow. Either you're gonna need to develop some sort of nest egg or have some passive income coming from another country, or you're gonna need to know how to hustle within that country, get legalized, or maybe even make money illegally off the books in some sort of way. That's very possible in the United States to kind of come in, find some sort of job, get paid, but it may not be so common in a country like Colombia, okay? So you need to go to a place knowing how you're gonna provide for yourself, knowing how you're gonna make money, and be crafty in how you do so if you don't already have that nest egg saved up. Early in the video, I promised to give you some insight into how I can help you put together a plan that works for you so you can make this happen for yourself. The best way to do that is to book a one-on-one call with me right on my Calendly page. There, we can do a deep dive for about an hour of time so I can learn your situation and help you roadmap your life so you end up where you want to be rather than unhappy where you are. For those of you who want a step-by-step guide to building a business independently, self-directed courses are probably better suited for you. Thanks again for joining me here on ENTP Life. I hope to meet all of you one day and that you continue to enjoy my content as it evolves with me. Until the next one, be well.